Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We take off from South Africa, where double amputee Olympic runner Oscar Pistorius has been granted parole almost 11 years after shooting his girlfriend to death in a killing that made global headlines. Department of Corrections said Pistorius would be released from prison on January the 5th, 2024. The former Paralympic champion, who turned 37 this week, was sentenced by a South African court in 2016 to serve 13 years and 5 months in prison. He shot his girlfriend, Miss Riva Steenkamp, multiple times through a bathroom door on Valentine's Day in 2013, later claiming he mistook her for a burglar. This was Pistorius' second parole hearing in under a year. His first parole bid was struck out in March because he had not completed the minimum detention period. That was later ruled a mistake by South Africa's Constitutional Court, leading to Friday's parole hearing. Well, earlier on, before the parole ruling, spokesperson for Steenkamp's mother, June, Rob Matthews, addressed the media outside the center, detailing the toll Riva's death had had on the family. June Steenkamp chose not to attend the parole hearing on Friday at the Atteridgeville prison near Pretoria, saying she cannot muster the energy to face him again. Mr. Matthews read out a letter from June to the parole board ahead of the ruling, where Ms. Steenkamp's mother said she did not oppose his release.
I'm not attending Oscar's parole hearing, as I simply cannot muster the energy to face him again at this stage. Barry's demise has opened up the wounds in many ways caused by Riva's death. I had forgiven Oscar long ago, as I knew most certainly that I would not be able to survive if I had to cling to my anger. I do not believe Oscar's version that he thought the person in the toilet was a burglar. In fact, I don't know anybody else who does. Following Riva's death, Barry and I, both devastated, tried with whatever emotional reserve that remained to take care and support one another. And then the unthinkable happened. My Barry passed away on 14 September 2023. What he meant in my life and the extent of his support have now crystallized into what remains after an unending black hole of pain and loneliness.
Innocent Samosa, our correspondent in South Africa, joins us now for more details on this story. Hello, Innocent. Oscar Pistorius' story is one that shocked the world when, that 2013 murder happened, and it's been closely followed. Tell us, how is South Africa now reacting to the news of him being granted parole?
A very good evening to you, Layo, and our viewers around the world. It's good to be in your company. Well, you hit it on the nail. The story has been a big talking point for some time now. Oscar has been granted parole. It's important, Layo, to also remind our viewers that he served 8 years behind bars of the 15 years that he was initially supposed to serve. We've come to understand from the Department of Correctional Services today, they confirmed that the parole board has now decided to grant Pistorius parole, and we now know that this will run into 2029. Now, going back to your question, Layo, well, there's been a lot of mixed reactions on the social media streets regarding this issue. On X, formerly known as Twitter, some people really have been saying that the justice system has failed women in South Africa. Meanwhile, on the other hand, some people believe that he has served his time. So, well, they believe that it's time for him to essentially get back to the community and be rehabilitated to the community. They believe that he has served his his time. So, like I said, there's been a lot of, mixed reactions on the social media streets. But also, that just goes to show how deep and how big this issue has been for close to a decade, So it has been a big talking point, as you said. But like I said, there's been a lot of, mixed reactions on social media. People who are interested in the courts of South Africa, they've been, complaining about this issue. Whilst on the other hand, some are saying that he has served his time, so it's time for him to be rehabilitated to our society. Layo.
Well, and we know just before this ruling, we heard from June Steenkamp, mother to Riva, who Pistorius killed. She said she didn't oppose his release. Have we heard from her in light of this ruling? Has there been any comment from the family since this ruling came out?
Indeed, Layo, one would have thought she will oppose it, given the amount of energy she, invested in this particular issue. Well, but she issued a statement. In fact, she was speaking to journalists outside court. She said that she does not believe that he has been rehabilitated properly. And that just goes to show that she does not agree, but she didn't oppose it. You would remember that he tried to apply for parole in March 2023, and he was denied. He then took it to the Constitutional Court. But Layo, this issue, this case is very complicated. This just goes to speak to how complex this issue has been for quite some time. And, I was asking myself, who sits on the parole board and what informs them for someone to basically, qualify for parole? Does it mean that they just say, you are a good person, so therefore you qualify for parole? And who sits there? So those are the questions that I have at this point in time. Not to say that I'm opposed to this parole, but I guess we need to understand and know the people that are behind the decision making. But yeah, like I said, going back to your question, Layo, she didn't oppose it. We expected her to oppose it, but she didn't. But she believes that he is not properly rehabilitated.
And just finally, what do we know of the conditions given for his parole?
Well, look, in terms of the conditions of his parole, it's understood that he's going to have to attend therapy and do community services while on parole. He also cannot leave the magisterial district of Waterkloof that is in Pretoria, in the capital city. So we now know also, Layo, that he will be released on the 5th of January 2024. Layo.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Innocent Samosa. Moving on, coming here in West Africa, Niger's military ruler, General Abdurrahmane Tiani, has made his first international trip since seizing power in July, meeting with his counterparts in Mali and Burkina Faso. The military leaders of Mali and Burkina Faso, who seized power in 2020 and 2022, have pledged solidarity with Niger's coup leaders. Well, General Tiani arrived in Burkina Faso on Thursday evening for what was termed a friendship and working visit with Captain Ibrahim Traoré. In Bamako earlier in the day, he had thanked his Malian counterpart, Colonel Assimi Goïta, for the support and determination of the Malian authorities and people to work with the authorities and people of Niger. Well, the three Sahel countries in September signed the pact that includes provisions for mutual defense in the event of an attack on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of any of the countries. The Ivorian government says former Prime Minister Guillaume Soro, who is in exile for 4 years, can return to the country. However, it is the justice system that will decide on the enforcement of his convictions in Côte d'Ivoire. Well, this is according to spokesperson Amadou Coulibaly following a cabinet meeting. Mr. Coulibaly further said that justice and the implementation of the prison sentences which Soro was handed are the concern of Côte d'Ivoire's judicial administration. His comments come after Guillaume Soro announced that he was ending his exile and would be returning to Africa. In 2020, Soro was sentenced in absentia to 20 years in prison for complicity in embezzlement of public funds in the country, and a year later to life imprisonment for endangering the security of the state. Well, during his exile, Soro lived in France, Belgium, Dubai, and in Asia. Well, at least 68 lorries have entered Gaza through the Rafah crossing with Egypt as part of the 4-day pause in fighting between Israel and Hamas. Well, it's the first pause in a 48-day-old war that began at 7 a.m. It involves a comprehensive ceasefire in North and South Gaza, the release of 13 Israeli women and children hostages by the militants later in the day, and aid to flow into the devastated Palestinian enclave. Well, Egypt has said 130,000 liters of diesel and 4 trucks of gas will be delivered daily to Gaza during this truce, and that 200 trucks of aid would also enter Gaza daily. The head of the UN mission in Democratic Republic of Congo, MONUSCO, and Congolese officials have co-signed a note on the accelerated, gradual, orderly and responsible withdrawal of MONUSCO from the DRC. This disengagement plan is expected to be jointly implemented in 3 phases with the support of the DRC's international and national partners. Farhan Haq, the UN deputy spokesperson, says after the withdrawal, the UN system will still continue to support the development efforts of the Congolese government and the people.
Mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, MONUSCO, Bintou Keita, and the Congolese Vice Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Francophonie, Christophe Lutundula, co-signed a note on the accelerated, graduated, orderly, and responsible withdrawal of MONUSCO from the DRC, containing a plan and a timeline for the complete disengagement of the mission in the country. You will recall that in September, the president of the DRC, Félix Tshisekedi, reiterated his country's desire to accelerate the withdrawal of MONUSCO from the DRC starting next month. Following the Security Council presidential statement of the 16th of October, this disengagement plan was developed by joint technical teams bringing together government and MONUSCO counterparts. The plan will be jointly implemented in 3 phases with the support of the DRC's international and national partners. In a statement issued by the mission this morning, Bintou Keita thanked our Congolese partners and reiterated our determination to work with the Congolese authorities towards an accelerated withdrawal of MONUSCO that consolidates the gains made during the mission's presence in the DRC. After the mission's departure, the UN system will continue to support the development efforts of the Congolese government and people with the aim of sustaining peace building and security gains in the country.
We continue in East Africa, where 7 people are feared dead after being swept away in Kenya's flooded Makueni County in the southeastern region. A local chief said they were sitting on a log in the middle of the river as they tried to cross when the floodwaters rose and took them away. The group is said to have been returning to their homes in Makueni County after meeting First Lady Rachel Ruto in the capital, Nairobi. In the meantime, rescue and recovery efforts by local authorities are underway, and Kenya, as well as neighboring Somalia and Ethiopia, are grappling with their worst flooding in recent history. In the meantime, still in the southeastern region, hundreds of Garsen residents have been forced to leave their homes after heavy rains caused the Tana River to burst its banks, flooding all the surrounding villages. Well, in Kenya, the death toll from the floods stands at 71, and that's according to latest figures from the National Disaster Operation. Heavy rains linked to the El Nino phenomenon followed by flash floods, have submerged towns across East Africa, leaving hundreds of thousands of people homeless. Kenya's Red Cross says people are still moving and migrating.
There are people who are still moving and migrating into other camps. Totally in this county alone, Tana River County, in the span of 1.5 weeks, the number has risen to 1,319 that have been displaced. That shows you what it is like. And Tana River is likely to be affected more because it is downstream of the river Tana and is also facing the Indian Ocean, so it's likely to get worse. We are also looking at a situation whereby disease outbreaks related to waterborne and vector-borne diseases are beginning to emerge because besides the primary care for those people with chronic illnesses who normally need to access the health facilities. Another effect that we are likely to see is contamination of water, because with the surface runoff water and with increased water levels, contamination is likely to happen in cases whereby latrines have been swept off, and as a result, you're finding that the water has been contaminated, and when they take that, then it leads to disease outbreaks.
Well, joining us now is Njenga Hakina, the Africa Climate Editor at the China Global South Project and also a climate change analyst. He joins us live now from Nairobi. Thank you so much for speaking to us on the program.
You're welcome. Good to see you.
Well, let's begin with rescue and recovery efforts in the Makueni County. What's the update at this time? We understand 7 people are feared dead after being swept away by the floods.
You have, but I'm assuming that just like you have heard from the Kenya Red Cross guy, as it happens in these cases, it's a developing situation, and so the rescue efforts will continue as he has mentioned. But I believe that just like happens in many disaster cases, this is something that we keep watching and we'll keep looking to see how it evolves. So far, like he said, there have been at least, like 70 deaths that have been reported, and probably this could be more. Just a few minutes ago, some news that some of the 8 people who were swept away by the floods last night the bodies have been recovered. And these were with the First Lady, Rachel Ruto, in Nairobi. And it isn't a case that we can only keep watching because the rains are continuing even now. And so we just go by what the Kenya Meteorological Department says, that some of the 47 counties, 33 out of 47 counties are affected. But Makueni is one of the hardest hit because it is low-lying. And so any surface runoff from the highlands will affect this place as well. Like you heard from the Kenya Red Cross, the river Tana flows through this county. And so if it expands, it means that it is going to bring some devastation with it. But we are praying and hoping that this won't be the case. With those who have been, the bodies that were recovered from last night's incident, we hope that the others will be, and that there will be no more casualties. It's a tricky situation because moving to higher ground at the last minute is not one of the best efforts or mitigation plans. So we just hope that whatever plays out, that those who are safe now and those who can be saved now should be, because at the end of the day, it's about saving as many lives as possible. But as we know, this community, livestock and other things like housing and, beddings and food stuff, if they had food in the stores, then with the rains flooding, that is lost. And so this builds onto the challenges and the problems that these communities will have to experience.
Well, in saving lives, just like you have mentioned, despite this widespread devastation, we've heard from Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua saying that the national government would not fund flood response efforts. I mean, how is this being taken, especially by people who have been affected by this?
So one of the governors who is from Mombasa, one of the 47 counties, has said that they have not received, or he has not received the money that the government was supposed to have given in preparedness for this phenomenon, El Nino, because as it happens, every so often we experience floods in Kenya. And so I would say that that is one of the reactions that we have gotten. But the DP, the deputy president, said that the government had released enough money to the counties. And so at this point, the government will not be, like the central government, will not be liable for whatever rescue efforts in the counties. And so going by what the governor said in Mombasa and what Deputy President Gachagua said, it seems like there is a disconnect because there is no harmonized approach to dealing with this issue. And like you know, when two bulls fight, it's the grass that suffers. And so it means that those who are in dire need now may not get assistance or help if this kind of push and pull between the two levels of government continue.
Well, we know it's not only Kenya that's been affected by this. We know of Ethiopia and Somalia. I mean, the Horn of Africa is only slowly emerging from a devastating drought that has left millions hungry, but now is experiencing heavy rainfall and floods. As a climate change analyst, how does one reconcile these two major extremes?
The saddest bit is that the hardest hit are the poorest. And so even before they have recovered from the effects of drought, here now we have the rains. And this shows you how difficult it is for the poor to get out of that poverty cycle. And unless governments, not just in Kenya, but in the larger Horn of Africa region, come up with a plan, a solid plan to ensure that these devastations do not keep occurring and that they protect the people, then it's going to be a big problem because at the end of the day, we will lose lives. People are losing their livelihoods. It's a challenge and they cannot even recover. At the China Global South Project, what we are doing is trying to communicate these issues and educating and working with journalists in the grassroots because these are the people who can tell the story as is on the ground. And so if we can find a way of mitigating after we have communicated as journalists, then we should see the government acting. And because these phenomena do not occur just, like without announcement. We had information that there would be drought, and now the floods have come. But what is happening? Probably those who are responsible are lying on the information, sleeping on it, and not acting in good time. And so, as journalists, even as we push this, we should also be pushing for accountability to ensure that those who are responsible for ensuring that these things do not have such a devastating toll on people, then they are put to account, are made to do what they're supposed to do because governments are there to do what they should do for the people. For us as journalists, ours is to just communicate and ensure that this happens in good time.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Njenga Hakina, the Africa Climate Editor at China Global South Project. Thank you for those updates.
You're welcome.
And as the Christmas season approaches, you might be thinking of taking a trip to Ghana because the country has declared a 46-day visa on arrival regime for visitors between December 1st, 2023 to January 15, 2024. Well, the government says this move is part of Ghana's ambitious 10-year Beyond the Return campaign that's designed to encourage Africans in the diaspora to explore and reconnect with the country. A statement from the Ministry of Transport emphasized the importance of updating systems to reflect this new arrangement and urged those responsible for checking in passengers traveling to Ghana not to insist on entry visas before boarding. Well, Foreign Affairs Minister Ayoko Bochwe had recently hinted at Ghana's serious consideration of allowing all Africans and people of African descent in the diaspora to enter the country visa-free. If Ghana is able to do this, it will join Rwanda, Seychelles, the Gambia and Benin, who are currently the only African nations offering visa-free entry for all African citizens. And that's it on the program today and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.